The Metallurgical Corporation of China, or MCC, is a Chinese state-owned megacorporation. They're one of the world's top 500 largest companies, and they're heavily involved in the Chinese debt trap diplomacy program known as the Belt and Road Initiative. But it's one of their smaller subsidiaries that we're interested in today. Hebei MCC Metallurgical Equipment Manufacturing Co., also known as Beijing Metallurgical Equipment Research and Design, abbreviated to MCCE or MCC. They have been producing amusement rides and other products for amusement parks since 1982. Though they're not the largest Chinese amusement ride company, they are the most political. Being a Chinese state-owned company, they are known to frequently host Communist Youth League gatherings at their factory, because we all know that roller coasters and communism go together so well. Maybe not. MCC produced their first roller coaster in 1995. It was an almost exact clone of a Micho loop and corkscrew coaster, which itself was based off of an aerodynamics design. MCC named this design the three-ring coaster, and they continue to sell this design today. In 1998, they made history by selling one of their three-ring coasters to Vietnam, making them the first to sell a Chinese-made coaster outside of mainland China. This is impressive, as Chinese coaster giants like SBL and Golden Horse were still only creating small-scale kiddie coasters and spinning wild mice at this time. In 1999, they introduced a new model called Large Three-Ring Coaster. Strangely enough, Large Three-Ring Coaster was actually shorter, both in height and length, than the normal three-ring coaster model. Before we go any further, it's worth mentioning that you can sometimes recognize an MCC coaster by the train. Many say roller coaster made in China on the side of the train and have an MCCE or MCC logo on the front. In 2001, they would debut their family coaster. This model is so generic that it's not even worth discussing if it's a knockoff or not. In 2004, they introduced their most popular coaster design, dubbed Medium Three-Ring Coaster. This coaster was very different from their previous designs, as it used tracks similar to what Japanese manufacturer Togo was using years earlier. Also, it featured a helix at the top of the lift hill, followed by a vertical loop and a corkscrew. Like the large three-ring coaster, medium three-ring coaster is shorter both in height and length than the normal three-ring coaster. Despite its clear influence from other designs, I think it's fair to say that the medium three-ring coaster is a unique design by MCC, and they deserve to profit from it. That same year, they would introduce four-ring coaster, a variation of their original three-ring coaster, now with a second vertical loop, giving the ride 2 loops and 2 corkscrews. This model clearly drew influence from Western and Japanese models. They continued producing all of the previously mentioned models with no addition to their sales portfolio all the way up till 2012. That year, they participated in the ancient Chinese tradition of creating a knockoff Vekoma SLC. They created 7-ring suspended coaster. Oddly enough, this ride was a near-exact copy of Chinese manufacturer SBL's version 1 variation of a knockoff SLC. However, MCC did make one notable change to the SBL model. They made it way rougher. This ride has some of the worst transitions of any coaster I have ever seen, and unlike other Chinese SLCs, MCC has had trouble selling this coaster, with only 2 being built to date and only 1 still operating. The second SLC made by MCC even gained some international attention when photos of its implement surfaced online. Some Western coaster enthusiasts dubbed it the Wonder Winder due to the element being extremely misshapen. MCC introduced their next new coaster model in 2015, the MCC Family Coaster, a very generic junior coaster. Up until 2017, MCC had hardly innovated at all. The generic 3- and 4-ring coasters were selling like hotcakes, and they had not seen any reason to introduce new models. This all changed in 2017. At the beginning of the year, they introduced the Boomerang Roller Coaster. This ride was about as close as you can get to a modern-day Aero Custom looping coaster. At the end of the year, they would introduce another custom layout looping coaster, Star Ripper, an indoor coaster with 3 inversions. This coaster featured extremely strange 2-car trains and some of the roughest transitions on any coaster ever built. It seems that while many other Chinese coaster manufacturers have been finding ways to make their coasters smoother, MCC has been making their coasters consistently rougher. In 2018, they introduced Mine Truck, a coaster with a near exact layout to Vekoma's clonable mine train. However, these trains are completely different to any other coaster in the world. Similarly to Golden Horse, MCC's most recent new model is their most clear knockoff yet. 11th Roller Coaster, a clear knockoff of Intamin's 10 inversion model coaster. ironically at the same park as Golden Horse's vertical roller coaster. On a positive note, the ride does look to be somewhat smoother than older MCC coasters, and it will feature lap bars instead of over-the-shoulder restraints. For now, it seems MCC has made a name for themselves in the Chinese coaster industry, selling traditional looping coasters in part thanks to their great brand recognition. This can be seen in the number of coasters they have sold. While their newer models have only sold 1 or 2 coasters, they've sold 20 3-ring coasters, 30 4-ring coasters, and a whopping 38 medium 3-ring coasters, making them one of the most cloned large-scale coasters ever. For now, it seems that MCC is content to continue selling these rough coasters without much innovation. Thanks to the large brand behind them, they have enough brand recognition in China to keep selling coasters. And they have enough money thanks to their parent company to remain a powerful player in the Chinese coaster industry.